Here we are with a chance to turn around an awful season. And by we, I mean they. It's up to Peters and Quinn and the Brain Trust. How much money do they have to spend relative to other teams, Ben, and where do you think their focus will be?
So as it stands right now, if you look at the salary cap side, like over the cap, they have not adjusted yet for, say, the Marshawn Lattimore release, which will tack on another $18 million. But so as it stands, they have like the fifth most, around 72. But again, it doesn't include Lattimore's roughly 18. It doesn't include Biotish. Also doesn't include some of the moves that they've now made where they've added a couple guys on some short deals. But relative to the rest of the league, they've got a bunch of money to play with. And I think they're going to do something with it. The question is it, a couple guys at the top and then figure out the rest, or is it spread the wealth and build it up from that direction? But they can go kind of almost any way they want. And other than quarterback and offensive tackle, they need everything.
How is this year's free agent class, according to those who cover the league? Is it strong? Is it weak? Is it somewhere in between?
Well, at the top, it's not as exciting, but I think that's kind of being the case most years now.
Right.
I think teams are, they largely get a deal done with their star players. Certainly, quarterbacks rarely hit the market, but even, top guys.
Well, Malik Willis is about to get overpaid by somebody, $30 million a year. That's the rumor of that.
You think that's too much for six starts?
Yes, I think that's insane.
Yeah.
I think the league has learned nothing from the likes of Scott Mitchell. Or who was the Brock Osweiler? Remember when he went to the Texans?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tiny sample size.
What's so interesting is, like, in terms of that aspect of it, like, I've been saying this for a while, and maybe the league is starting to go here. You only have to have a quarterback to throw the ball 40 times a game if your plan is to have a quarterback throw the ball 40 times a game. You can run. You can lean in that direction. We've seen that now more in the last few years. I don't get sometimes why you don't just take sort of the mid quarterback and just say we're going to build up with everything else and use that money on all other stuff. Sure, big moment, you need that guy. I totally get it, but you can't get to the big moment if you're not there and you're having guys who are not very good throw the ball a ton, or you're overpaying for mediocre talent anyway. So I don't get why some teams are doing this.
You ever watch Fixer Upper with Chip and Joanna Gaines?
No,
you know the show though.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
They take a very inexpensive house. It's in Waco, though. So you have to live in Waco, Texas. No offense. And they turn it into something fabulous. And that's the whole genius of the show. And they say, we'll only invest $150,000 in renovations. And it's a ton of stuff. And you're like, I want to see those contractor bills. How are you getting all that work done for that little money? But that's the key to the show. People go, oh, my God, imagine getting a house that nice for that cheap. And I think there's a dynamic like that in play with what happened with Seattle and with Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold was not cheap, but he is a rehab project because everyone thought he had reverted to what he was at the end of 2 years ago with Minnesota, which was a guy not built for the big game or the big pressure. And they won it all with Sam Darnold. So now there's 4, by my count, rehab projects that are going to be very tantalizing to somebody at quarterback. And they are, I would put them in, I don't know if I can put them in order. I would say Tua is probably the most rehabable. I'd say Kyler Murray has the highest ceiling of talent, but there's real questions about how much does he love football. And then there is Kirk, who's just going to give you what he's going to give you, which is a good, solid, professional quarterback job, but nothing spectacular. And then there is Geno Smith, whose own sort of resurgence, I think, has probably run its course from when he was a washout with the Jets. Of those 4 rehab projects, is there going to be another Sam Darnold-like story, do you think?
I'm with you on the Tua part. Now, look, the concussions, obviously, we can't ignore that. I always think the lefty thing is kind of weird. I mean, it's just a little bit off,
Okay. Steve Young, though, great lefty.
Of course. And Tua's had his moments, but, with him, it feels like the mental part of it. Like, where is he at there? Because it feels like that is where his game has been hampered, but with all the hits and the criticism and the losses. So I'm intrigued by him. I think the issue with Kyler Murray, the talent is obvious. I think he's a lot to deal with. I mean, the fact that the Cardinals put in the contract
Yes.
that he had to do homework.
Yes.
I mean, that was pretty rough indictment of him. So I think that's the issue there. But look, guys mature, guys get older, maybe you get humbled. You know, like Baker Mayfield was another reclamation project.
That's another one right there. So could Kyler, I think a lot of teams might squint real hard and look at Kyler Murray and see Baker Mayfield.
You know, if you made me pick right now, where does Kyler Murray land? I wouldn't have thought this originally, but a lot of people seem to think Minnesota, because Minnesota wants, air quotes, competition for J.J. McCarthy. I don't know that Kyler Murray feels like it's more than that.
How's that going to make McCarthy better?
Right. I totally agree. But I guess the theory is, like, for Minnesota, you're coming off a terrible year for them, underachieving year. Right. They, like kind of maybe the vibe here. If you don't have a turnaround year, things could be over, and you're really going to trust McCarthy. And with Murray, Kevin O'Connell has been known as a bit of a QB whisperer. He helped Sam Darnold reclaim his status and do what he did. So I think that's why Kyler Murray maybe makes some sense there. Yeah. He's definitely a bit of a project in the sense that he's a lot to deal with.
I think Minnesota's vibe is like, okay, let's do it again on the rehab thing, but let's keep our rehab.
Right.
Let's not flip the house like we did last time. Good luck to them on that. Thankfully, the Commanders do not have to worry about that. They've got their quarterback. But they probably need, they need another weapon, right? Another receiver.
At a minimum.
And they need defense in buckets, in bushels. The so-called PFF, or not so-called, but the PFF.com free agent pecking order, I guess, or their top free agents, according to them, I'm looking at them right now. Trey Hendrickson, who the Bengals bungled that whole situation, is the number one free agent out there. Coming off an injury-plagued year, he only played 7 games. Number 2 is Pickens down in Dallas. Now let's pause on the Pickens thing, and you tell me, what do you think Jerry's going to do with old George Pickens?
I think he's going to back up the Brinks truck and say, let's go. I mean, look, obviously the talent is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
So are the headaches, but I think they're willing to take that hit. I mean, they already obviously made the move on Micah Parsons, and I do think that was part of also was like a bit of a headache situation beyond what they thought the value was.
He was too expensive for them. They had too much money tied up in other guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, me personally, I don't like spending crazy money on 2 receivers. I just don't think that's how you build a team to win.
Mm-hmm.
But he's already there. He already had a good year with them last year, so it's sort of like just keeping it. So I think they ultimately get a long-term deal done. That would be my guess.
All right, let's go yes, no, maybe on the other side of this. Got to take a quick break. I'll run through the top 10 or 15 guys here, and then Ben can say yes, no, maybe, and you can also chime in as well. 800-636-1067. The Commanders are about to launch into free agency like the rest of the NFL. These are not the bad old days of Dan Snyder buying used bubblegum card players that are well past their prime. Deion Sanders, Jeff George, Bruce Smith. But free agency, if done smartly, can really fill some holes quick. And we know the Commanders need to fill a lot of holes on defense. We'll take some calls after this. Next, you're listening to BMitch and Finlay, filling in for them, Steve Zabin and Ben Standig.